You know, when I got around towards the end of this episode, I was like, there's barely any Yuri or Victor interactions in this episode. Then I see, like, the final minute of the episode, and I'm like, okay, I'll take back what I said. So, the Victor and Yuri scene at the end of this episode. Can we just say for a moment how much meaning that had? And what this episode was kind of about? Like, I walked into this episode, okay? Expecting this episode to have it where Yuri breaks down because Victor's not there. And Yuri was going to self-destruct throughout this episode. That's kind of what I figured would happen. Even though Yuri was trying to be a good man and telling Victor to go and see his dog in case his dog doesn't have much longer to live, I still thought Yuri was going to just blow himself up. Pretty much, he was just going to destroy his entire chance of going into the finale. But he managed to save it. He barely made it in. But it wasn't an episode about him needing Victor. That truly blew me away. But then the finale of the episode, with Yuri making that declaration to Victor, that's pretty interesting. Because apparently, from what I'm hearing from watchers of this episode, now, before I go any further, I don't know if this is accurate or not, okay? I just want to quickly say, FYI, I don't know if this is accurate, but this is what I've been hearing from a bunch of Chibits on Twitter. Apparently, the final line that Victor says, or not Victor, but what Yuri says to Victor, is like, be my coach forever. Apparently, that was a mistranslation, and it was supposed to be, please be mine, or please be mine forever. Apparently, that's the proper translation to that finale scene, like that final scene with Victor and Yuri, and it was mistranslated. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. Like I said, I have no idea, but that's what many have already told me on Twitter, and so I want to ask some of you Chibits, if you know Japanese really well, I mean, did the final line of, what Yuri and Victor were talking about, like, please be mine, forever, please be my coach, was that mistranslated, and was it please be mine forever? If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments below, because if it does actually mean, please be mine, or please be mine forever, or whatever, something similar to that really just changes the overall meaning of what that meant at the end. It wasn't even about, Victor being Yuri's coach, but it was more along the lines of him saying, please be with me for the rest of your life, and, until I retire. For instance, retiring means death, and if so, that is a really interesting way to kind of, once again, concrete these two's relationship. And, I mean, we already know that these two, the way their, relationship has been building up, it's very organic, and it doesn't feel like something that's relatively forced. And with this episode, if that truly is the meaning, besides just please be my coach forever, but I mean, even if it is please be my coach forever, the meaning is obviously there. It's obviously there, and it's kind of like, as Victor said, a marriage proposal for those two can be constantly together. And Victor says, I don't want you to ever retire, and then also, he's like, it's a marriage proposal, and when he hugs him and all that, it just looks like, these two have bonded once again, and it kind of, the entire episode represents that being far away makes the bonds go stronger. I mean, I think some of you have probably heard about this in the past. I've even mentioned, I think, in other romance and stuff, and not a lot of romance anime tend to do something like this. It's truly strange, honestly, but I mean, it's a rarity to see, like, bonds like this. For instance, two characters that are so far apart, but then they grow stronger and their bonds become even better than they were when they were actually close together. I mean, majority of anime or manga I read, you tend to have it to where, like, let's say a couple, they split up or something, like, one's going on a, business trip, vacation, whatever, with friends, they tend to have all these thoughts and all that, and it leads to some form of drama, and then eventually these two just need to meet each other very early. That's kind of how majority of episodes or, manga chapters end off of when two characters are kind of separated for a good long while. It tries to fight and have these two get right back together instantly. But this episode was the complete opposite from the normal type of romance episodes you would get. Now, as I know, Yuri on Ice isn't about romance or anything. It doesn't even have a yaoi tag to it. But I mean, I just want to talk about the real meaning here, like the message. Seeing this type of romance or this type of feelings for two characters between each other, it is something that is very different. It's something you don't normally see from anime or manga, because I'm so used to, two characters trying to fight to be together constantly, and then if they're not together, there's some form of drama, and that wasn't the case with this episode. Victor and Yuri being separated throughout majority of this episode, and Victor not really being present, it made these two even stronger as a couple, and I just want to say, that is impressive. I'm very impressed with this episode for actually being able to handle that, but make it have so much more meaning towards the end. So, I mean, Yuri on Ice, once again, doing a very good job with these type of themes it has, and I mean, once again, proving that it's not just one of those typical type of romance things you would see, or trying to mishandle the way these themes are. It's actually doing it in a way that feels fucking natural, and I mean, I praise it all the time, but I just really need to just concrete that and keep that nailing down, is that the way Yuri on Ice continues to use these themes and continues to make it feel like it's real and something how it would be in normal life, I'm really happy with. I mean, that right there makes me happy just to see how Yuri has developed to the point where he doesn't need Victor always there. He wants Victor there, but Victor doesn't always need to be there for, Yuri to be able to even function as a human being. I mean, that's also a very good thing. I mean, you shouldn't always need someone that you truly love always to be right beside you every step of the way. Sometimes you need to be distant and do your own thing, and with, Yuri being able to take those steps by himself and kind of progress, that shows that he doesn't need Victor all the time there, and Victor vice versa. He doesn't need, Yuri there all the time. So, with that, my final bit and pieces I want to say on this entire topic, that entire bond between these two, I fucking love it. I fucking love it. So, with that being said, let's talk about the episode in general, besides the bonding and stuff. Let's talk about Yuri and Yurio's relationship. So, these two characters, I am a big fan of what Yurio did in this episode. Yurio overall surprised me with his development. He was completely different from his previous performance. The way he was able to just, do his performance like he did, he actually beat Yuri, and also his just entire outfit, to the way he carried himself throughout his performance, he was very different from how he was in the previous one. And then his grandpa also being there, the very reason why he's doing this in the first place, like his entire motive to this, entire breakdown of his performance, is thanks to his grandpa. And so, with his grandpa being there, obviously, it's kind of like if Yuri had Victor there, Victor being there helped out Yuri constantly, and how he can obviously perform even better. And that's what you can say for Yurio. Yurio had his grandpa there, watching him, cheering him on, and that really made Yurio feel happy, and so he was able to perform at the best of his abilities to impress his grandpa. And I mean, in a way, this episode reflects on both of the characters, Yurio and Yuri. I mean, Yurio has a long way to go. He's at the point where he needs someone to be there for him to even be able to function. For instance, how in the first time he performed, since his grandpa wasn't there and he was kind of pissed off and agitated, he didn't really perform well, and it shows that he constantly needs his grandpa, who's like one of his main inspirations, to always kind of be there to support him, and if he's not, well, he kind of, he dips and nosedives. But Yuri shows development to where he doesn't need Victor always there. I mean, he won't perform as well as he normally does. He still has a similar issue to how Yurio is, but he's still able to perform a little bit better. So both of these characters had like very similar development this episode, but that were a little bit opposite, which makes sense. I mean, when you think about both characters, when you think about Yurio and you think about Yuri, they're two characters that started off very different. I mean, one was very good at, ice skating, one was good at ice skating, but just didn't have as much confidence, while the other one had confidence, and, the way their roles were and what type of performances they were trying to do, completely opposites from each other. So with this type of development in this episode, it just makes so much sense with the way these two characters have been kind of written side by side. Now, besides Yurio's relationship with Yuri, let's talk about the other performers. So we have the Syscon in this episode, and oh my lord, that man's performance, I want to say, it was a pretty impressive performance, but it just, like, seeing this man, like, my sister and all that, I was just like, oh my god, like, yo, like, this man is straight up like a Syscon, the way he acts, and he's like, this is my final performance to you, sis, and then, he's dancing and all that, and she cries, and she's like, I'm glad, you can actually do it without me. So, I mean, I understand what was going on there with that relationship. It was also playing to the themes of this episode. Distance makes the bonds grow stronger, and that's what that was for, too, as well. Like the Syscon and Brocon stuff going on, it was kind of like showing that these two don't always need to be together to be able to do their ice skating, and that's the whole message of this episode. I mean, you saw it constantly through certain characters, and I mean, even, JJ, oh, JJ is such a good character. I fucking love JJ. The way he came in at the end like a freaking wrecking ball. Yes, bad pun. But, I mean, the way he came in and all that. That man was fucking badass. I mean, I really like his performance. It kind of sucks that he stole, you know, like the third place spot or second place spot from, you know, Yuri. But I mean, JJ was just doing a very good job. I mean, he's like, I'm king and all that, and he's just dancing like that. Just the man had a very splendid performance, and I see why he was, you know, up there. He beat Yuri. I mean, it just makes so much sense when you really take time to think about it. So, I mean, yeah, the episode overall of Yuri on Ice, it was an intense episode. A lot of development, a lot of characterization, and a very good concrete theme about, you know, distance makes the bonds grow stronger. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.